Hello. At 12:56 p.m. on October 16, 2022, the 911 operator suddenly received a strange call. On the other end of the phone, no one spoke, only sounds of MMRR continuously echoing like a small scream. The 911 operator asked, "What are you reporting? What do you need to report?" Because the sound was too faint. The operator couldn't gather any information but still made an intuitive judgment from the voice that the other party seemed to be female. And the sound coming from her throat suggested her mouth was likely blocked and she couldn't speak. The 911 operator continued, "All right, I'll assist you right now. Wait for me a moment. Do you know your address?" At that moment, some noise appeared in the phone audio, like struggling sounds, urgent and abnormal knocking sounds occurring as in special cases. The operator then used digital analysis techniques to determine the location of the signal source from the other side and sent out the other party's information. After receiving the feedback shortly after, the phone staff contacted the nearest police to come investigate the situation. A moment later, the voice on the other end of the line gradually weakened until it became completely silent. Although the phone remained connected, no more sounds were emitted anymore. The story takes place in the city of Lacey, located in the suburbs of Washington state in the western United States. It includes coastal plains plus convenient transportation from interstate highways, so the residents' lives are quite harmonious, healthy, and happy. In Lacey City, there lived a married couple. The husband named Chae Kyong-in, aged 53, and the wife Dong Sook-in, 42 years old. They had 2 children. Their eldest daughter was 20 years old, and the youngest son was 11. Their family had lived here for 4 years. They lived in a normal and peaceful neighborhood. But life isn't always silent and calm, and people would be so lucky if their lives didn't experience misfortunes. In summer 2022, due to conflicts within the family, wife Dong Sook filed for divorce in court. The couple separated and prepared divorce procedures. Chae Kyong moved out to live elsewhere, so currently only the wife and their 2 children lived in the house. Chae still occasionally visited to do laundry and care for the kids. Around 12:30 p.m. on October 16, 2022, Dong Sook and her 2 children returned from church. They saw the husband's car parked in the yard. This wasn't surprising because every week on that day, the husband usually stopped by the house to do laundry and play with the kids. Compared to meeting daily like before, they felt this change was much better, and this time they could discuss the divorce. The children had just returned home, hadn't yet had time to chat with dad when their mother told them to go to the supermarket. Next came the couple's conversation. Both refused to yield in dividing assets. And finally they started arguing. Chae Kyong said in an uncontrolled manner that even if he died, he would never give her alimony money. The wife was very angry hearing that, but she didn't pay much attention because they had lived together too long. And similar arguments frequently occurred over many years. Dong Sook demanded the husband leave the house immediately. She felt tired and went upstairs to change clothes. But she didn't notice that husband Chae Kyong had followed her and entered the bedroom together. Chae Kyong took advantage when the wife wasn't paying attention to attack her from behind. Then used duct tape to cover her mouth, eyes, hands and feet. After doing this to his wife, Chae Kyong temporarily left. How could a man suddenly go so crazy? What did he want? Was he drunk or what? Such questions kept spinning in the wife's head. She fell into an extremely frightened state. The only thing she knew now was her husband was having a breakdown. In panic, she remembered the Apple Watch on her wrist. She quickly sent emergency warning messages to a friend and her eldest daughter, while calling 911 to alert police. At that time, she couldn't talk but could only hope for a chance of survival. And the phone call at the beginning of the video was made by her. At that moment, her eyes and mouth were sealed with tape, hands and feet bound. In the room, only she alone. Dong Sook struggled and tried her best to send distress messages to the outside world. Luckily, police cars were dispatched, but unfortunately, the husband had just returned. The surveillance video from the neighbor across the street recorded that Chae Kyong had driven into the garage and dragged Dong-suk from the bedroom downstairs. Only then did he discover the watch on her wrist was still contacting 911. He felt something wrong and thought he needed to resolve it quickly. So he removed the watch, grabbed a hammer and smashed it several times, even hitting Dong-suk's wrist a few more times. Then he made her drink some medicine of unknown origin, dragged her into the trunk and continued driving away from the house. Surveillance video showed the police car coming to investigate happened to pass by Chae Kyong's speeding truck. Because police were rushing to do an important mission, they didn't stop the car to conduct questioning. The speeding car in the residential area. Chae Kyong's car successfully drove out of the area and headed toward the mountains. At the same time, police cars had arrived at the wife's house. They didn't know what had happened here. It could be robbery, kidnapping or murder. They approached the front door and called out loudly, "Lacey Police Department, if you're inside, let us know." The police's call immediately made the neighbors' dogs bark everywhere. After entering, police saw a smashed Apple Watch lying on the ground. Still contacting the 911 dispatcher. Inside the house, there was no one. The front door and garage were wide open. Inside there were no signs of struggle. At that time, the two children who went to the supermarket had returned. They saw a group of police suddenly arrive at their house, and their father and mother had disappeared. An ominous premonition suddenly arose. After some discussion, the eldest daughter said that half an hour earlier, Mother said, "You kids go out to the supermarket." Mother had something to discuss with Dad. But not long after, the girl suddenly received an emergency message from her mother. Earlier, on the way home, the girl also saw Dad's car drive past. During the subsequent investigation, police discovered that their family had many reports about domestic violence. The perpetrator was the husband Chae Kyong. In addition, Dong-suk also had a protective order prohibiting the other party from contact. But later it was withdrawn by the court. Police went to question the surrounding neighbors and obtained some surveillance videos. Then they realized the speeding car from earlier was driven by suspect Chae Kyong. They immediately launched a citywide manhunt and issued related arrest warrants. On the long road, a car had driven about 11 kilometers from the starting point. It seemed far enough already. No one would set foot in that remote forest. In a desolate place, one man, one woman alone. They had once loved each other and gotten married. Originally they were not a lonely couple. But now the love for each other no longer existed. Only hatred remained. Chae Kyong looked at the surrounding scenery, and finally he saw a place he liked, looking like a grave. Throughout the journey, Dong-suk was dazed, feeling the car had stopped. Before she could react, she was already pulled out of the car by Chae Kyong. Then she felt a sharp knife stab into her chest. The intense pain quickly made her mind a bit more alert. Only then did she realize she might have been taken to a strange remote area. She vaguely saw a person holding a shovel digging. As the sun set, the sky became darker. The hole before her grew larger and larger. The wife, with bound hands and feet and mouth taped, could only hear the sound of the shovel lifting up and down. Gradually a hole was formed. Chae Kyong dragged Dong-suk down into the hole and started covering it with dirt. Perhaps because he had given her medicine plus the knife wounds in her chest. He thought at that time the wife no longer had the ability to resist or escape. Moreover, being buried alive like this, she would surely suffocate and die. In reality, Dong-suk at that time was still quite alert. She knew she couldn't escape this situation because her hands and feet were all bound. She felt each shovel of dirt falling on her body and face. She could only tilt her head slightly so dirt wouldn't enter her nostrils. Fortunately, the other party didn't notice that small movement of hers. In a moment, the shovel sound also stopped. Dong-suk could clearly feel the pressure of dirt on her body. She sensed Chae Kyong stamping on the dirt several times. Then suddenly something heavier was placed on top. And that was a tree trunk that the husband had specially prepared for her. After doing all these things, he returned to the car while Dong-suk, buried underground, relied only on thin air to survive. After hearing the car engine start, She began trying to twist her body. First, she tried to get her hands free from the tape, then pulled off all the tape pieces stuck around her eyes, mouth and ankles. This entire process took a whole hour. The pain in her chest grew heavier and heavier, but she didn't care about that. She crawled and moved up from the mound of dirt, just poking her head out. She saw her husband's car not far away. On the car window appeared a layer of fog. In the car, lights were on, providing the only light for the dark area. The feeling at that time was truly terrifying. After a while, she knew her wound couldn't be delayed any longer. She used all her strength to push the tree trunk away and climbed out of the hole. After crawling out, she ran in the opposite direction from the car. About 20 to 30 minutes later, she saw a house. At that time it was 12:52 a.m. She didn't need to think. Knocked on the door, then went inside and told the homeowners everything she had gone through. Her body was covered with dirt and filthy, but the family was still very kind, helped her and called police to assist. After police arrived, Dong Sook was still hiding behind the family's warehouse. After confirming the arrivals were police, she ran out and begged for help. She said, "My husband wants to kill me. Save me, he's still somewhere in this area." Police, after seeing the dirt stains on her body, bruises and remaining tape marks, believed her. Then they helped clean her wounds and took her to the hospital. Let's review together the journey map of this incident. Here is Dong Sook's house. Here is the area she was buried. And here is the house where she sought help. Around 7:38 a.m. on October 17th, meaning the next morning, a citizen walking on the road discovered a suspicious blue car that police had issued a search warrant for, parked near Statesman Road, and reported to police. Thurston County and Lacey police reacted very quickly. 44 minutes later, suspect Jae Kyung was arrested and detained. His physical and mental health condition was verified and shown to be completely normal. He would face 3 different charges: attempted murder, kidnapping, and first-degree assault. On October 18, 2022, Jae Kyung was taken to Thurston County Jail to await trial. At the end of that day, police found a hole about 1.65 meters long, about 0.76 meters wide, and about 48 centimeters deep near Statesman Road, where Dong Sook was buried. Inside remained duct tape, blood stains, hair and watch fragments. Prosecutors then charged Jae Kyung with first-degree premeditated murder, domestic violence, kidnapping, assault and first-degree burglary. The deputy prosecutor also requested the court not allow him bail. Dong Sook herself also hired a private lawyer. She said, "Please don't bail him out. I'm very worried about my own safety and life. I just want to emphasize that I'm really very afraid of him. If he gets out, he will definitely come back to kill me." Jae Kyung's defense lawyer said the bail amount could be set at $150 USD, enough to use as a preventive measure. In addition, Jae Kyung was also a veteran who served in the U.S. intelligence agency for 30 years. Never had a criminal record. Perhaps during the work process, he faced very great psychological pressure. This was also an objective cause leading to his crime. But this was exactly what Dong Sook worried about most. She knew well her husband had worked for intelligence agencies for 30 years. If he had bad intentions, then after getting out of prison, he would do unimaginable things. Finally, the court agreed not to allow him bail. Until now, the case is still in the trial process. Although Dong Sook narrowly escaped death and she also returned to normal life, going to supermarkets and preparing Halloween for her children. The after effects of trauma aren't just wounds on skin. Perhaps those are heart wounds. She will never forget that near-death experience. Looking back at the entire case, Jae Kyung's decisive and cruel methods were truly terrifying. Dong Sook calling police to save herself when in danger made the matter even more miraculous. When something unfortunate happens to us ourselves, let's try to stay calm and utilize everything we have to solve problems. Let's put faith in life because outside there are many beautiful things waiting for us. Today's video ends here. See you in the next videos.